Hello and welcome to Chapter 8 of Autodesk Maya 2014 Essentials, written by Paul Nass, published by Cybex. These tutorials are intended for the class at Bossier Parish Community College. Alright, so I have Maya 2014 open. I'm going to go ahead and set my project, and my project is Maya Demos. Yours may be different. You may make a unique project for this chapter. I'm setting that project, and now I'm going to open my scene. And in this case, we're going to go to Chapter 8 Start, and it is our complete guy. There he is. Now, this guy has a pink mouth interior and the brown eyebrows from the shading chapter, because they were attached to the faces. If you're using your character, he may also have the texture that you've painted as well, and that's just fine for what we're doing. So he can be textured or not at this point. So we're going to be practicing putting the skeleton in this part. Now the skeleton is just part of the rigging process. So part one, really. So we're putting in the skeleton, then we're going to weight the joints, which we'll get into the next chapter, and then we're going to set up different controls for this rig system. So right now we can't really see inside of him, so I'm going to go up to X-ray shading so that I can see, oops, come here little fella. X-ray shading. I'm gonna not do X-ray joints. So you actually have the option to X-ray your joints as well, as we'll see in a minute. So I can kind of see through him. If I want to, I can wireframe as well, so that way I can see that way, or I can smooth shade. Lots of different options depending on what works best for you, but you need to be able to see it. You can just go straight wireframing if you want. I kind of like this just because it's partly see-through, partly not. And so now we got to figure out which is the best way to see him to put these joints in place. So we're going to go into our multiple view by hitting the spacebar. So here's our guy, here are views. We have to determine what's going to be the best for what we're about to do. So the first thing that you're going to do is you're going to start putting in your spine, and it's going to go all the way up through the top of the head. Now, an important thing to note about what we're doing with these bones. So we're going to get centers of rotation, and we're going to get bones. And these will control the vertices on our mesh. But they'll only control the ones that we tell it to when we weight. That means that you could have a joint all the way over here that potentially affects something all the way down here. By default, they're going to want to affect the things closest to them. So we're going to go ahead and make it look like a normal, simplified skeleton in hopes that that gets us the best weighting result so that we don't have to do a lot of painting weights in the future, because it can get very tedious. So what we're going to do is we're going to go into the side view here. Let's see if we can focus in on him. Press F to focus. And I'm going to enter, and I can see this lovely side view. And I'm going to start with the pelvis. The pelvis is sort of the center of the body. If you have ever done dance, that's also sort of where your weight sits. And everything sort of branches off, at least for the down part, from here, and then everything else is going to branch off from the neck here. So you've got these branch points. So to get to the rigging stuff, we're going to have to go into animation and skeleton. So the skeleton menu has all the stuff that we're going to need. For now, we're just going to look at the joint tool. Degrees of freedom, orientation, things like that, these are affecting how the motion will behave. You can say that one of your joints only works on one axis. For now, we're going to let it work on all axes, so it can spin around like crazy. So it's a little limit. these are oriented either to the world or to an axis. And then these are the settings of how large the bones appear, short and long. What's considered short, what's considered long. So for now, the defaults are going to be fine. So we get a little cursor here, and we're going to want to start with the pelvis. So it starts about here on your pelvic floor. We're going to work up to here. So that's our first bone. Then I'm going to have 3 or 4 spine pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4. Base of the neck. And we're going to have 1 for the head and go out to the top of the head as well. So you want to think of these as centers of rotation. So really the bones themselves, these triangles, they don't do a whole lot. They just show you which direction this chain is working in, what's parented to what. So for instance, if I was to click on this joint, it doesn't have, this is its only child down here. If I click on this one, it has no children. If I click on this one, however, all of these are its children. So the direction that's pointing indicates what it's parented to. Now, once I've created these, I can move them around, and they're going to take everything else with them. Because again, these are the children, and they have to move where the parent moves. I'm going to take these guys and reposition them a little bit. And the reason I'm doing it along the back is because that's where the movement occurs in the body. Oops, let me get this back here. Extend this a bit. So you can reposition these after you've created them. So you don't have to feel like you have to start over every time. Although it's super easy to make them. You can also rotate them before you've set them. 3. So I'm gonna have that at the 2, 3, 4 base of the neck. Here. Top of the neck. Oops. I lost one. Too many joints. Scooch them around a little bit. So you can totally move stuff around to get it where you want. We're doing it from this side view in the hopes that Maya appropriately positions them halfway in the character. So you can see it's done a nice job of guessing where the center is. If it hadn't, we can always go in and change that. So there we go. All right, I'm gonna just have that straight up. Get it straight up. Actually, let me just rotate this guy. It's probably a smarter choice. Get him. I'll go ahead and let's see. Freeze transformations on that to get them to be normal. To do it on all of them. Oh, they're fine. Okay, so here we go. Now I have to name them. So that one's going to become pelvis. I can spell it. Elvis with a P. All right, then I've got spine 1, spine 2, spine 3, spine 4. I'm going to call that neck and head. And we can say that's like head top. However you want to do it. All right. Okay, cool. So now they've all named. Again, this is to keep things organized. It's really helpful to be organized. Especially for later when things get complicated. So you can see, oops. So my rotation kind of threw things off. So I'm going to go ahead and rotate it back. Maya's, again, pretty good about finding the center. But during my fixing and fidgeting, I've gotten it kind of off. So I want to make sure it's nice and lined up. Let me just make sure we're going straight onto front view, X-ray. Just lining it. So if you get it right the first time, awesome. You can always just redo it too. So I'm fixing it just so you guys can kind of see how to go about it. But you may just click, 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 and just hit it straight on and be awesome. And like I said, you saw how easy it was to put these in place, so you're welcome to do that. Alright, so I've got them straight that way. I'm gonna check this. That looks awesome. Alright, so we're all nice and lined up. And we've got those named. Okay, so this is the pelvis to the top of the head. And in the next video, we're going to talk about making the leg chains.